Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's an all age, so it's, yeah, good. So it's for adults and it's for children. I'm going to need you both. I'm going to need adults and I'm going to need children today. So do pay attention. But I'm also going to need your help because you're going to be involved this morning. Don't worry. By being involved, all I need you to do is to think and to talk to each other. That's how I need you to be involved. And you're going to start that right now. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to talk to the person next to you. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, do just have a think about it in your head. But I want you to answer a question, and the question is, what makes you worried? What makes you scared? What makes you afraid? Don't feel like you have to bare your whole soul to the person next to you, but just have a go at answering that question. And just chat with each other for a minute, and I'll bring us back. What makes you scared? Okay. I'm going to bring you back. I don't know what you've been talking about. I don't know what makes you scared. Do feel free to come and talk to me later. I get scared quite a lot. You know, big man like me, what have I got to be scared about? I get scared about silly things. I'm scared of sharks, which may not sound silly, but when you're swimming in a lake in England and you're still scared of sharks, that is silly. There are no sharks in the lake! But I'm scared of sharks. But I get scared of less silly things. Sometimes I'm a bit scared in the dark. I'm a 37-year-old man, I still get a little bit scared in the dark. But I'm also scared about bigger things. I'm scared about how I'm going to look after my family. I get worried about that. I get worried about war. I get scared about climate change. I get scared when I want to talk to somebody about Jesus. I get scared and I get worried that I'm going to get persecuted because I'm a Christian. I get scared. There's lots and lots of things that I get scared about. We've been looking at the Psalms together. We've been looking at the Psalms, and the Psalms are brilliant for when you're scared and for when you're worried. They are songs written particularly for when you're feeling worried and scared. And this morning we're looking at Psalm 46. And Psalm 46 talks about some really worrying and scary things. And now this morning we're going to act out. Well, I say act out. We're going to use all of our technological skill. We have blown the budget on this to act out the scary things that happen in the psalm. So I'm going to need Charlie and Maisie. We're going to act out what happens in the psalm. We're also going to use our actor. Here's our actor. We're going to call him Jeff. Thanks, Jeff, for coming. And I need you to hold on to this. Look at the technology. Isn't it amazing? And you hold it out so it's nice and flat for me. Yeah. And look, Jeff's really happy. Jeff's happy. He's on the earth, and he's happy on the earth. But there's scary things that happen in the psalm, and we're going to act them out. So I want you to think about poor Jeff and about how he's going to feel and about the situation that's in the psalm. So you just need to listen to me. So, firstly in the psalm, the earth gives way. I reckon you need to start shaking that tower a little bit. Oh, look at Jeff. He's bouncing around. How does he feel? I think he's a bit scared. But then the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. The whole earth is falling apart. Shake it around. Get him all moving. Oh, wow. The waters roar. Oh, Jeff! Jeff, it's okay. He's signed away his indemnity. It's fine. He's signed it away. The waters roar and foam, and the mountains now quake because they're surging in the sea. And oh wow, big shake, really big. Ah, Jeff! That's fine, you can sit back down. How does Jeff feel about the situation in the psalm? How does he feel? Anybody? Scared. He's really, look, he's shaking. Poor Jeff is really, really scared. It is a scary situation in the Psalms. And yet, the person who wrote the psalm, I don't know if you've seen this, if you've not got your Bible still open, do open them back up, page 570 and 571, because we're not going to have it on the screen, so you're going to need it. Do we see what the person in the psalm says? Let me open it as well, so we've got it together. He says, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, even though all this terrible, scary stuff happens. How can he say that? How can he say, we will not fear? Interesting. Now, we get scared, right? I'm going to ask you to talk amongst yourselves again, I know, twice, about another question. And the question is, when you get scared, and when you're worrying, when you feel fearful, where do you go to? What makes you feel safe? Where do you go to feel safe when you're scared? So again, chat amongst yourselves just for a minute. Okay. Come back to me, come back. Right, keep thinking about that, but up next we're going to sing another song. We're going to sing another song, and after the song we're going to talk about what the psalm says about what makes us feel safe. But the song we're going to sing is about the Ancient of Days. It's about our God who has been forever and will be forever. So let's stand and sing this song together. Thanks. Do take a seat. And we're going to have a think. I don't know what you thought about where you go to feel safe. Now, I think for me, often where I want to go is I want to go and hide in my bed when I want to feel safe. When I was a child, the only place I wanted to go to feel safe was on the sofa next to my dad, with his arm round me. Normally we'd be watching the snooker and then he'd be asleep. But still, I'd feel safe. But where does the psalm say we go to feel safe? Even when the earth is completely falling apart. Shall we read verse 1 together? Here we go. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear. Because God is our refuge and strength and is an ever-present help in trouble, we will not fear. That sounds really simple, doesn't it? Sounds really easy. Because I know that God is my refuge and strength. I get told it in the Bible, so I won't fear. Is it that easy? Is it? Because it's not, is it? I get really scared. I still get scared. We all do. But that's why these Psalms were written. The Psalms were written to sing to each other, to sing to ourselves when we're scared. Because they remind us of why we don't really need to fear. We're going to think about 3 reasons why we do fear, why we are scared, why we do worry, and then we're going to think about why we then can sing this psalm to ourselves when we get scared like that. So, the first way we get scared, and I'm going to need a volunteer. I'm going to need a volunteer for each of these 3 ways, but can I have a volunteer? Joe, come on up. Come on up. The first reason we get scared is when we feel alone. Do you want to come and stand over here? Can you do a little bit of acting for me and look scared because you're alone? Oh, isn't it good? It's very, very good. Where is God, we ask ourselves? We feel alone, we feel scared. Where is God? Do you ever find yourself saying that? Where are you, God? Have you forgotten about me? Where have you gone? Or do you think about God? When you think about God, do you think about him up in heaven on some clouds, but a very, very long way away? Is that what you think of when you think of God? Because that's not what Psalm 46 wants to tell us about God. It wants to tell us again and again and again. We're going to see it. If you look, we'll see in verse 1. God is our refuge and strength. He's an ever-present help in trouble. Then, later on, verse 7, the Lord Almighty is with us. Verse 11, the Lord Almighty is with us. He's with us. And I thought it was really helpful what Ben said about him being with us. And that could be a bit scary. But this says we're not to fear because he's with us. Even though the whole earth is falling apart, we don't need to fear. I've completely lost my page. There you go. There it is. But how do we know that he's with us? Because the question is, where is God? Where is God? Where does he live? What does the psalm say? Where does he live? He lives in the holy place, the city of God. Now, when the psalm's written, the city of God was Jerusalem. But where is the city of God now? Where's the city of God? Where does God live? What is God's city? Well, we know that God's city is God's people. It's us. If you trust in Jesus, if you've said, Jesus, please help me, you are one of God's people. You are in the city of God. Who likes going to castles? Who likes going to castles? I love going to castles. We were in Wales on holiday recently. There are a lot of castles in Wales. They are fabulous. And when the castles were first built, because they don't look like this now, they look completely broken down, they don't look particularly safe, but when they were first built, they must have been a very, very safe place to be. And it says, God is like our fortress. It's like when we trust in Jesus, we are in a fortress. And it's not just a fortress where we have to defend ourselves. No, it's a fortress where God is with us in the fortress defending us. Isn't that amazing? So, when we feel alone, when we feel scared, you want to turn it round, we need to remember and sing this psalm to ourselves because it will remind us that God is with us. God lives with his people. And we'll see the psalm says, we will not fall. We won't fall, even though the earth is crumbling around us, even though in the psalm there are wars and the nations are in uproar. We don't need to fear because God is with us. Sing this psalm to yourself. Take it with you. Remind yourself that God is with us. Number 2, though, we are alone, but God is with us. We sometimes feel alone. Number 2, Ronnie, do you want to come up and hold this one? Sometimes we feel scared because we feel weak. Sometimes we feel weak. God's people are in God's city, but around the city in the psalm there are scary things, and the things look big and powerful. There are kings and nations and wars, and they look really scary, and there are lots of scary things around us that look big and powerful, and that might make us feel a bit weak, that might make us feel like we can't do it. Maybe that's just you trying to live for Jesus. Maybe it just feels like you're too weak and you can't do it. I feel weak a lot. when I'm trying to battle my sin. I feel weak a lot. But God is bigger, and God is more powerful. And the psalm tells us that. It says that there are nations in uproar. It says that there are wars. But do we see how God says, how it looks for God to be powerful? He lifts his voice and the whole earth melts. How powerful is that? I have the earth here. Here it is. It's a very small earth. High tech again. Look what happens when I tell it to melt. Melt. Nothing. Anybody else? Tell you what, on 3, we'll all say melt and see what happens. 3, 2, 1.
Melt.
Nothing. Melt. Nothing. Still nothing. I can't make the earth melt. I can't even make this tiny little ball melt with my words, because I am not God. You are not God. The people who are kings and who are making wars and who look powerful are not God. They cannot lift their voices and the earth melts. Only God can do that. We saw Jesus lift his voice to the wind and the storm, and it was quiet. Because only God can do that. And that God who made the world, that God who sustains the world, that God who is so powerful is with us. And that God, you want to turn it round? That God who is with us is strong. When you feel weak and it's scary and you feel like you can't do it, when you want to tell someone about Jesus but you're a bit scared and you feel weak in your heart, God is strong. When you feel like the whole situation that you're in is too much, God is with us, and God is strong. When you feel like you can't beat sin, God is strong. Don't try and do it yourself. You're not strong. You are weak, but God is strong. And we don't have to, sometimes maybe we think, well, can God do it? Can God do it? Is God capable of doing that? Look at what the psalm says. Shall we see? It says, verse 8, come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fires. He does it. The psalmist says, come and look what he's done in the past. And for them it's, look how he's protected Jerusalem in the past. But for us, look what God has done for us. He has saved his people. He has died on a cross for us. He protected his people long in the past. He made the world. He's done so much. Look at what God has done. Look at who he is. And he's with us. And he is strong. Don't fear. That's what it says. And things will still feel scary. But they don't need to. Okay. The last time we might feel scared. This is number 3. Who's going to come up? Come on. It's when we feel uncertain. Yeah, hold it that way around. That's great. Good job, everybody. Feel uncertain. So we don't know what's going to happen. And we sang a song that said, we don't know what will happen in the future. We've got no idea what's going to happen tomorrow or next week, do we? We don't know, and we feel scared and uncertain and worried because we're not quite sure. And we can't do anything about it. But God had an instruction for us in this psalm, didn't he? God had an instruction. Did you see it? If you have a look at your Bibles, verse 10, he says, be still. He says, be still. Now, who's played Sleeping Lions? Everybody's played Sleeping Lions. That is a game in which you have to be still. Should we try playing it? 10 seconds. You ready? 10 seconds. If you move, you're out. Okay, 10, 9, 8. I see a lot of movement. 7, 6. Adults are doing really well with their eyes open. 4, 3, 2, 1. Brilliant. Well done, everybody. You can move again. It's not like that, though, is it? This instruction doesn't say, be still like musical statues, or you're out. No, that's not what being still here means. Being still is stop quaking and shaking and worrying and have peace. Be still, God says, and know that I am God. The reason we can be still is because we know that God is God. Because God has a certain plan. Do we see? He says, be still, know I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Because God's plan, where God makes everything right, and God is at the centre, and we all praise him forever in his kingdom, it will happen. It's a lovely ball. It's a certain plan. Do you want to turn that round? And do you want to turn around so everyone can see again, Ron? God has a certain plan. When we feel uncertain, when we feel worried, when we feel like things are going a bit wrong, when it feels like the whole earth is crumbling around us and we don't know what to do, Ron, keep holding it up. And when we feel uncertain, God has a certain plan. So when we're scared, we can sing this psalm to ourselves so that we can know God is with us. And that God who's with us is strong. And that God who's strong has a certain plan that will happen, where everything will be put right and you will be safe. Isn't that amazing? So I want us, you can go and sit down. You can take it with you, feel free. I want us to take that psalm with us in our hearts, to take away with us, so that when we feel scared, we can tell ourselves. And we've got one verse that we're going to take away with us. And it's this verse. We've already seen it today. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. When you feel scared, tell yourself that. We're going to read it together, and we're going to read it a few times to see if we can get it to stick. Okay, are you ready? I'll read it with you the first time. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Okay, number 2, you're going to read it on your own with the words, and then we're going to take the words away because we're mean. Go on, read it again.
The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress.
Ben, take them away. Ha ha ha, the power. Okay, are you ready? The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Take that away with you in your heart. Tell yourself, tell each other that the Lord Almighty is with you. The God of Jacob is our fortress. What amazing news. Now, we're going to hear a song based on Psalm 46. It's going to be on the slides. People at home, you're not going to be able to hear it, so you're going to hear some silence for a bit. But in that silence, why don't you also pray? Why don't you use this song, though, people hear, as a prayer to God, to remind yourselves, but also to speak to God and say thank you to him for being with us, for being strong, and for having a certain plan. Okay, let's have the music.